Hey, one more video on this car. I want to show you something I did to help keep the paint looking good. And never mind this tape right here. I'm doing some diagnostics on some fuel pressure stuff. I'll do that in a separate video. The tires are pretty large on this car. They're pretty wide in the front and they're pretty wide in the back. It kicks up rocks, and because there's flared fenders in the back, you get rock chips kind of back here on the rear flares. So the factory had, like on the turbo cars, they have a big black, it's called a shark fin, and they put that there. So I want to do something like that in clear, some paint protective film. And of course, this car doesn't have rockers like the factory ones did. This is kind of a lightweight sort of race car. So that means there's more paint exposed. And one thing that I've done, I kind of want to show you guys how I made this. This is a little tiny removable mud flap. So these are magnets and that just sticks on. So I'm kind of approaching this two ways. One with the paint protective film and the other with these like rock guards or mud flaps or whatever you want to call them. They just stick on there. And I have driven with these on the freeway and during the autocross and stuff. 80 miles an hour, no problem. They do not fall off. There's also paint protective film here on this edge. So when these magnets come in contact, they don't scratch the paint either. There's a little strip, kind of wraps around the corner, but there's a small amount of this film right here too. Let me show you how I made this thing. And I'm using this Creality laser to make the parts. So I'm starting with this flat sheet. It's about 2.5 millimeters thick. This is kind of the back side of the laser, but it's probably a little easier to see from here. I have taken the material and flipped it upside down. That way there, it's a left and a right. So before I had the textured side up. This time I have textured side down, and let's just let this run. So now we have a right and a left, perfectly identical. And then to create this little bend right here, I just use a heat gun. And then I'm heating the glossy side. Yeah, that fits the fender perfect. These magnets are Neo magnets, and I got a whole bunch of these. I got these from Temu. I'll put a link in the description below. Neo magnets are very strong. I'm not sure what the hole is for. I don't need the hole there. I could probably, find a better link with something without the hole in it, but these seem to be plenty strong enough. So now we just, I just use JB Weld to get them inside here, but the hole is a nice fit. See how they fit right in there? So it's a tight fit, little JB Weld around the perimeter, and they'll stay in there forever. We'll let those set up in there. It'll take a couple hours, I guess. JB Weld's not the fastest, but it is pretty strong. Let that set up. I'll work on the ones in the rear. And if you're curious, how I get the shape, I'll try to show you that too. This is where my dirty hands kind of comes in handy. It's important to have a reference scale. So when I import the scan of this, I'm going to take it to my scanner and import it to my computer. This is 6 inches, and I'll label it 6 inches so I'm not confused. But that helps me scale the shape and get it exactly to what it is going to be on the car. The flatbed scanner is mostly like for pictures and stuff. It doesn't really retain scale, but I can adjust it in my CAD software to be exactly 6 inches from tick to tick. The next thing is light burn, and light burn creates the G code for the machine to be able to follow. It's like a machine language. So anyways, I'm able to split it into different layers. I'm going to cut the outer perimeter first, and then this inner line will be for the paint protective film. So that's why I imported it with 2 different colors like that. The G code looks something like this. This file here is all the coordinates for every point that it cuts. So it's just a huge file of nothing but just data. So that's what the machine reads. Lightburn is the interface between the CAD software and the code that makes the machine run. I know this stuff looks easy on YouTube. It's actually not that bad. The software today is pretty good. I have like a couple decades worth of CAD experience, so it's easy for me just to crank this stuff out. But if you're interested in like the templates, I'm happy to give them to Patreon members. If you're a Patreon member, I just give you the files. You can take it to your library. Sometimes libraries have these machines. You can cut stuff out. Send can cut this out. Lots of places can do this kind of work. So this one just has a little bit of a bend to it. This looks like it's straight, but it's got a slight bend to it. The machine does a great job on these edges. They are really pretty smooth. Currently have a binder clip kind of holding it to the bumper. So it's in the position that I kind of planned it. Now this is really small for the back. So the only rock that this is going to prevent is something in this region right here. It may stop a rock chip like right here or right on the edge of the bumper, but it's not going to do anything to the back here because this is you can see the line of sight is to that. Or I could make another one of these that extends further down. But my fear is the magnets won't be strong enough to hold it on. It really does blend into the tire. It's hard to see it. Same thing with this one. It's pretty invisible. This time I'm cutting through wood, and I'm going to try to use the wood as a cutting template for the protective film. I'll show you what I mean. So this is the profile of the actual fender or actual bumper. So if we can trace this onto the protective film, then we can go ahead and put that on the car. This is the paint protective film, and this is from Amazon. It's not that expensive. It's like $19. It's a 6-inch by 50-inch strip, which was more than enough to do the entire front hood of the car. But let me show you how I cut it. I just use a razor blade, and let's unravel it and show you how I cut it. Okay, so this is what the material is, and it has this backing on it. So when we cut it, we can cut through the backing. We'll just get as much as we need to trim. So I'll probably just do a little diagonal like that. You got to make sure the adhesive is on the right side. So the adhesive is on the paper side. It goes on the car this way. So I want to trace it this way. If I flip it this way, that would be wrong. This is a brand new razor blade, so I'm just going to put pressure. It is slippery, so I'm going to cut all the way through and just follow the shape. I haven't tried to cut this with the laser, but I should. This may cut great, or it may leave like a dark edge. So I'll try that in a second, but I'm gonna go ahead and put this on first. To put it on, all I use is some of this baby shampoo. In this, you can use distilled water, but this is just reverse osmosis water. So I only add just a little bit to it. A couple drops is all you need. So baby shampoo, that's it. Nice and clean. Go ahead and we'll spray the car down. And you also want to spray the film down and also get as much on your hands as you can so it doesn't stick to your hands either. Then we peel this off. Final check. It goes just like that. We use a liberal amount of this stuff, and you just don't want it to get stuck to itself. So just orient it the best you can. If you need to peel it up, you can. Just keep it very wet. And we spray it again, spray the squeegee, and then we just work the bubbles out. And it's okay to push pretty hard on this stuff. So I'm pushing really hard, and that's working out the last of the little bubbles. You don't want any bubbles underneath it. And then where it wraps around the edge, I'm just using my finger, making sure that sticks, and we can pull it around like that with the squeegee. And then I'm going to put just a little bit of heat on the top here to get that water away, because now I want it to stick and the water is getting in the way. I'm not going very hot this time. Okay, I'm happy with that. It's supposed to be invisible, which I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on camera. Maybe I'll try to take a picture too. But it's on there. The seam is right there where my fingernail is. It wraps around the edge of the bodywork just a tiny bit. So that's it. So then when I glue the magnets on, this will just, never scratch the paint. The magnets are actually contacting the protective film. That's the idea of this anyways. Okay, I've taped some of the protective film down on top of this wood. So I'm going to try to cut it with the laser and see what the shape is. I haven't really done much research on this. I had to guess at the settings, but let's just give it a try. It's a scrap piece. The material is interesting because it's cutting through and it's cutting into the wood, but it actually, it's called self-healing material, and it's almost like it's melting back onto itself because it's not, this is not working. I think it's not, I would call it not laser cuttable. And these have to go a certain way, of course. There's one. I don't know that that's strong enough. I may have to go to with the, you know, the office clip. Office clip is probably okay since there's paint protective film on there. I don't think it would damage anything. Not exactly a rally spec, right? I'm gonna flip the car around so we can work on the film for the quarter panel. This part here, I think, is protected by the front mud cover, and then the lower part is going to be protected by the paint protective film, just like that. So it intersects with the circle. I'm going to have to take that torsion bar cover out so the film can go underneath it. And that's the shape I got right there. And I'm going to mark this which way's up. So I kind of know which way's up, but I just want to have, it fits really nice, so I want to have a good indication. I just put it back in the same spot. So if we line those two marks up, we should be fine. A little dirty underneath there. This time I'm going to cut the film out on a hard surface. This is like an aluminum surface. Yeah, that was a much cleaner cut. I may take those curved scissors, and this is a little bit like a stop sign. So I'm going to smooth that out with the scissors, but this is a nice little pattern here. I think that's pretty good too. And sure enough, I didn't think that through very well because the tape is in the way of the film, so I have to remove that. So you kind of want to hide the edge as much as possible. So if you can use a body line, that's perfect. And then this will get trimmed after we put it on. And then this is just a line that you're probably going to be able to see, but it's better than having rock chips. Just make sure there's no residue from the tape or anything underneath the paint. The paint's got to be as clean as possible. Just like before, we just use tons of this liquid. And I'm going to wash my hands one more time. Now this is a compound corner, so you know the film is required to stretch. And that's where it's hard to get the bubbles out. So if you need to pull it back, you can. And then once the liquid comes out, it's pretty much stuck down. So don't use the squeegee if you don't want to put it down. This is going to be down. I can use my light here and look at the reflection for any bubbles that are present. I feel like I might have got a piece of dust underneath there. It's all right. And then I can trim this right at that edge, and the seal will kind of cover that. So I'm not sure if this line is going to be evident in the camera, but there's a line that goes right there, and then this body line. I probably should update my template a little bit. It could follow this a little closer. Right now it kind of dives in right there. So I could probably make an edit to have it come further along the body line, but it's so low in the car, you'll never see it. There is a piece of dust right here on the top. There's a little black mark. So that's never gonna wash off. That's just in there. I'm just gonna aim that tape up. That's kind of where it was. Get some of that white stuff off of there. This is the problem with having these flares. I'm very happy I did the flares though. I love the way they look. I love the bigger tires, and with the bigger engine, I think these flares are absolutely the thing to do. The other nice thing is you could probably pick up some sockets. If you get paint chips while driving, then so be it. You know, this car is really fun to drive. It's more fun driving it than it is fixing rock chips. So I would rather just live with it. But let me know what you think. This is something you can do yourself. The paint protective film is not that hard to work with in small areas. Some people cover the entire car like a wrap. I think that would be very, very difficult. So I would not try that, but little strips here and there and like little shark fins or whatever, it's not that hard. Give it a try. I'll put a link in the description below for the Armor Up film.